Hello, everyone. This is Anthony Smith, and I'm still doing interviews with retired and former SWCC operators. Today, we're talking about traumatic brain injury and orthopedic injuries, and I'm talking with Senior Chief SWCC Mike Loya, and here's Mike.
All right. Well, I'm Senior Chief Retired SWCC Mike Loya. I spent 20 plus years in the Navy. I was on USS Reclaimer my first 5 years, and then the next 16 years I was in the boat community. I spent my first tour was at Special Boat Unit 11 up in Mare Island, running PBRs and mini armored troop carriers. Yep. From that point, I went to a SEAL detachment as a first lieutenant in Hawaii, SDV Team 1, Det Hawaii. And the boats that I was taking care of there were 24-foot ribs and 20-foot Boston whalers primarily. After that, I went to the Boat Squadron 1 in San Diego and was an inspector. Basically, went to all the detachments and units and inspected the boats, make sure they were being taken care of correctly, logs and so forth. And then I ended up going to Special Boat Unit 12. And my primary thing there was Mark 5 SOC. And as far as I went into training and then back and deployed one more time there towards the end, post 9/11, kind of like when everybody started a rotation out of the Gulf there. At SB11, I did do I went to the Gulf the first time in '87. I was on barge Windbound then. We kind of commissioned the barge Windbound and Hercules at that time. I spent my whole time on the Windbound. And the significant stuff like at SBU 12 was primarily the Gulf was our my 6 month deployment. But there was a lot of small deployments that we did to Hawaii, up to Washington, up to Thailand, flying the Mark 5s out there and doing just exercises that we were doing. Mm-hmm. Then I ended up went ahead and retired, and my retirement day was April of 2002. Okay.
Interview 13. Mike answered questions from the following questionnaire formats and gave permission to produce this presentation and share it openly. Operator Syndrome Scale, we covered that. We covered the GAT-7 scale, the PLC-5 scale, the PHQ-9 scale or questionnaire, the NSI, Neurobehavior Symptoms Inventory, and then a SWCC background questionnaire that was developed to gather just background information on his SWCC career. Okay, so Mike Loya had 20 plus years in the military, in the Navy, 16 years as a SWCC operator. I think he got into the SWCC program around 1987. He was a 95-33 and eventually became the 53-52 when we switched over NECs. He served at SBU 11, SDV 1, SBU 12, CSBR 1. He worked on many ATCs, troop carriers, PBRs, 24-foot ribs, Boston whalers, Zodiacs, and the Mark 5s. He deployed 10 times, probably more than that. And he had about 25,000 hours of time on SWCC fast boats. And that accumulates roughly an estimated about 3.4 million weight-pounding whiplash events, causing mTBI and microconcussions. And significantly, Mike played high school football. He wrestled in junior college, and currently he's been on the police department for about 20 years now, since he retired from the military, and he teaches defensive tactics to the police department. So Navy SWCC is a special class of elite naval warriors who have been a decisive force behind some of America's most important secret missions. Special boat operations have unique and often deadly challenges due to the combination of operating powerful, sophisticated machines designed for speed and stealth in some of the planet's most inhospitable environments. The average SWCC career operator experiences mTBI and major orthopedic injuries over the course of their career in peacetime and in war. And Naval Special Warfare conducts missions in over 70 countries, 365 days a year. The sum of SWCC injury does not accumulate until the operator retires. Before we talk more about the interview, we need to briefly discuss operator syndrome. Operator syndrome is not a diagnosis, it is a qualitative descriptive framework of a nexus of symptoms and illnesses, and it was coined by Dr. Christopher Free. There's a DOI link to it there, and we're going to be talking about operator syndrome and as it pertains to SWCC operators. So operator syndrome is a nexus of psychiatric illnesses and disorders along with chronic major orthopedic injuries as defined in the literature. Operator syndrome affects all SOF forces, that's all special operations forces from every major branch due to the nature of our job and our training and our deployment cycles and our high op tempo. There's a list of different SOF units right there throughout the branches, and SWCC is included in this group of SOF operators. All right, so some of the operator syndrome symptoms that Mike is experiencing is traumatic brain injury. He hasn't been diagnosed with traumatic brain injury, but he has over 11 symptoms from traumatic brain injury. He does have issues with sleep disturbances, especially difficulty staying asleep after he goes to sleep. He mentioned some obstructive sleep apnea. Very high scale, chronic joint pain, back pain, orthopedic problems, but not headaches. A little bit of substance issues, not too bad. Slight depression that kind of comes and goes. And he did score about moderate on the PTSD scores. Slight anger things, nothing out of control or anything. The other things: worry, rumination, stress, marital, family, and community dysfunction, problems with sexual health and intimacy, slight on that. Hypervigilant, being on guard, and all that is extremely high. Some memory issues, concentration and cognitive impairments, some vestibular and vision impairments, and did have some challenges with transitioning from the military to civilian life, and then a fear of developing invisible wounds. All right, here's some of the comorbidities Mike has due to SWCC boat operations. He does have a lot of symptoms of traumatic brain injury, post-concussion syndrome symptoms. He does have a moderate level of PTSD symptoms, numbness and tingling in his hands, also one of his thighs. He has issues with hearing, poor memory, starting to forget things a lot, fatigue, anxious and irritable. Okay, so Mike also has a few shoulder surgeries, a current torn rotator cuff, both biceps are torn, a couple knee surgeries, his left shoulder needs replacement. He also deals with dizziness, balance, and some coordination issues, sensitivity to noise, executive function issues, high blood pressure, bilateral hip pain, C-spine, and L-spine issues. Okay, here are the symptoms that Mike experienced while operating on high-speed SWCC boats. He experienced mental fatigue due to weight pounding on SWCC boats. He experienced whiplash due to weight pounding on SWCC boats. He experienced seeing stars and urinating blood due to weight pounding on SWCC boats. He experienced confusion, lack of focus, and concentration due to weight pounding on SWCC boats. He experienced whole body weight pounding and whiplash at speeds of 50 knots. He experienced weight pounding in seas above 10 foot on SWCC boats, and he experienced severe orthopedic injuries due to wave pounding on SWCC boats. All right, so traumatic brain injury for Senior Chief SWCC operator Mike Loya. The average SWCC operator logs about 3,000 hours of boat time in a deployment cycle. And according to Roche's 94 study, research conducted on underway NSW fast boats for 6 days over a period of 36 hours, which totaled about 8,610 wave pounding impacts ranging from 2 to 25 Gs. Of the 8,610 wave impacts, 4,496 impacts ranged above 5 Gs, and 4,496 5G or greater impacts in 36 hours equals 124 significant whiplash events in an hour. The average SWCC operator endures about 124 whiplash events in an hour, contributing to traumatic brain injury. The average SWCC operator possibly endures about 374,000 plus significant G-force impacts from wave pounding on SWCC boats in one deployment cycle. Mike possibly endured that number times 10, which is totaling out to about 3,467,000 plus significant full body impacts while wave slamming on SWCC boats, causing disastrous long-term effects in chronic orthopedic injury, whiplash, and mTBI, leading to post-concussion syndrome. Okay, here's a summary of symptoms relating to the operator syndrome framework for Senior Chief retired SWCC operator Mike Loya. Etymologically speaking, Mike is a 60-year-old former special boat operator as of right now, February 2023. Mike has over 20 years of military service, 16 of those years as a SWCC operator, and 10 total deployments on SWCC boats, including 25,000 plus hours of SWCC boat time, potentially causing probably 3.4 million significant full body impacts while wave pounding on fast boats. Mike has over 11 symptoms of mTBI or post-concussion syndrome and an excess of orthopedic injuries. Mike endured full body slamming, whiplash, mental fatigue, dizziness, confusion, and blood in his urine from wave pounding at significant G-forces on 10-foot or greater seas at speeds of 65 miles an hour. Mike has many post-concussion symptoms from SWCC fast boat service and moderate PTSD scores, along with long-term major orthopedic injuries and joint surgeries one would expect to see based on his history of wave pounding and whiplash on military fast boats and other activities related to a SWCC career. And Mike also, he does have a history of contact sports. All right, conclusions from this ongoing project. At this point, there's been 13 interviews or record reviews of SWCC operators. 100% of SWCC operators interviewed thus far have significant TBI exposure contributing to post-concussion symptoms. 100% of SWCC operators interviewed thus far experienced full body wave pounding, whiplash, and orthopedic injury from SWCC boat operations, proven to cause mental, emotional, and physical injury. 100% of SWCC operators interviewed thus far still lack VA ratings for service-connected injuries due to SWCC fast boat service. And the VA contends these issues are not service-connected for the majority of us because they were not claimed while we were on active duty. Information in this presentation proves that Mike was a SWCC operator on SWCC fast boats for multiple deployments, and the aggregate of this data collected in these interviews connect long-term TBI, post-concussion syndrome, and orthopedic injury to SWCC boat service. Most importantly, thousands of former and retired SWCC operators suffer from long-term mTBI and major orthopedic injury without acknowledgement or help from the VA or the DoD. There remains a gap in TBI research on this peer group. And references for SWCC TBI are listed in my presentation titled SWCC TBI, which is posted on my YouTube page. Thank you.